Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stalking Shadows. This is season 3, episode 2, and I'm coming to you from the inside of my pickup. It's icy outside and the wind's cranking, so I thought just for sound purposes, let me just sit in the truck. We're out and about getting some firewood for the fireplace, just to warm up the house for the evening. So let's get on to it. The last episode we spoke about where I became an outfitter and the troubles that you get registering and all the ups and downs from other outfitters and so on and so forth. So this episode I should say, is all about how I went about marketing and with the help of others where it got me to book my first client. So I told you guys all about Mark Carey, who is an important part of where my business started, and we're still great friends now. And he spoke to me about coming out to visit him in the States. So I had to go about getting my visas, getting a whole lot of gear together to go and promote myself and my company for this dream that we're putting together and for this outfitting business that we're after. So within discussions of chatting with Mark about the shows and everyone goes over in January and February and they go for all the big shows, SHOT Show, Dallas Safari. They go to all the big shows. And being a starting out outfitter, you cannot afford those shows. Unless you're a trust fund baby, guys, there's no ways a guy being a freelance guard is going to be able to go and book a table at one of those shows. It is just ridiculous. So anyway, so I was chatting to Mark and he was saying, man, not too far down the drag from him, there's the Tulsa Arms Show. It's not a safari show, but it's a firearms convention. Guys are there buying hunting rifles and all sorts. There are tables there that you can purchase to advertise at, and there are outfitters that also advertise at this convention. So we started doing the sums and doing the maths, and then he said there's another one that we can go to, which was called Sedalia, which was down the drag from him, and it was a much smaller show, but it was also a firearms convention. Let's try and hit those up to kind of draw some clients to the brand, to the name, because I wasn't hitting what I needed in social media. You need to be personal. So as I said way back then, guys, social media is much better now for people to get to know who you are, the type of person you are, what are your morals, where you're heading, especially when you're looking at a company that you want to book with or hunt with. So with this case, back then, there wasn't that. It was over email, getting people to trust you, to send you money for deposits. I'd have a lot of interaction, but no one actually physically signing on the dotted line. So we got the ball rolling. I had to head to Cape Town. This is the crazy part for us. We need visas to visit you guys in the States. The States doesn't need a visa to visit us. So I had to fly to Cape Town. Now I'm scrambling for money, guys. You must remember, this is where I've had a season where no hunts involved. I need to get my business up and running. I need to get stuff to market with, branded caps, branded tops to actually look the part. So now throwing a international ticket on top of that, you got to throw a visa in to visit the States. which meant I needed another flight to Cape Town from where I was, and then I had to go to the embassy. We had to pay for all this in advance. You got no guarantees of getting the visa. You go and have an interview with the guys at the embassy, and they decide whether you are sane or sound enough of mind to visit the States. So it's quite interesting for this farm boy doing all this stuff. And got there, got the visa out of the way. I'll never forget you'd have 3 interviews. And the last guy that I had the interview with is obviously the American guy. And he asked all the questions: who you going to, who you visiting, why you going overseas. And it's a little bit nerve-wracking because you've already had 2 other people bombard you with all these questions, and they kind of repeat themselves. They want to see if you're slipping up, because there were too many people at that point in time who were running from South Africa and going to go work without, the proper paperwork. Because of South Africa being South Africa, we need to find jobs, or you got to build a job for yourself. Trying to get a job was just not really, there. If you did find a job, it wasn't a great job. So hence the reason I was building my own business. And he asked me all these questions, and I was like, answering everything carefully and, trying to be as polite as I can. And eventually he took my passport and he tossed it in a box. I'm like, am I not going to get that back? I want to get to America. So he goes, okay, Mr. Dell, you can go to the DHL office over there and tell them where to post your passport to. So I kind of stood there. I was like, but did I get my visa or not? No, well, if he's posting it to you, you got your visa. So then there was a sigh of relief, and, everything's all done. Back on the plane, back to Port Elizabeth, where I was living at the time. And I'd moved there with my fiance, because in the first episode, you see I was living here on the farm and living, in the cabin. But then because I've got engaged and everything like that, I moved to Port Elizabeth because that's where she was working. So I could still build my PH thing. I could freelance from there because we picked up all our clients from Port Elizabeth. And when I hunted my own clients, I could come home to hunt here or buy whatever lodge I was basing at. And that was the thing. So this is one thing where a lot of Americans also kind of get the wool pulled over their eyes when they go to all these conventions and stuff like that. Is a lot of outfitters throughout Africa don't own their lodges. It's a hell of an expense, guys. It's a lot of guys use other lodges or hire lodges from other outfitters. If you hunt further into Africa, you are renting those lodges and setting up those lodges, and you're hiring the ground from the government. So it's not often that an outfitter actually owns his own lodge. There are the big companies that do, but the guys like myself, we use lodging wherever we need it, and it all depends on what the client is after. And so if he's wanting a foal redbuck, we'll base ourselves further inland. If we're after more the coastal species, we'll base ourselves near the coast. It's just how the industry works. So with all the excitement and everything, guys, I headed back home, visa all sorted, waited for it to arrive. And while this was all happening, I was running around from place to place trying to find merch to get branded caps, hats, shirts, t-shirts, to go over to look the part, to make sure that, I represent a brand. And I was at another place and we managed to get some caps that I liked, and we got the logo put on them, and then there was a botch up with the logo, so the logo on the caps weren't the logo on the brochures. It's all these little things that people don't tell you about. And then the logo on my fleece jackets and my jackets that were going overseas for myself and Mike to market wasn't 100%, but it would do. So I kind of jam-packed all this stuff in. I managed to make a banner, get a pop-up banner made for our table, and I was going to fly over my first time to the States and go and spend a month with Mike, with him and his family, and he was going to take me around to these shows. And he went above and beyond when it came to helping a young guy out trying to start a business. And I'll never forget. Oh, well, let me put you guys all into this process. Life didn't go as planned. Myself and my fiance broke up. I had to move from Port Elizabeth with all my stuff back to the farm 2 weeks before I got on a plane for the States. So I was thrown a complete roller coaster in this whole time period of trying to build a business. But it all worked out in the end. I got on the plane, got there. Long flights. I think the only flights I could get at the time was I had to fly from here to the UK, from the UK to Dallas. Then I flew from Dallas to Springfield, Missouri, and that's where Mike couldn't pick me up, but his brother Dave came and collected me. So all in all, we had a good flight all the way through. And I got to, I'll never forget this. I get to the airport, the last airport, grabbing my luggage, and yeah, Dave is standing at the turn thing for us to collect our bags. And I'm like, the hell are you doing here? So he goes, no, we can stand here. So it's very different in South Africa. For us, we can't meet our clients at the turn belt to collect their bags. We have to stand outside behind security. So for me, it was such an eye-opening experience landing in America, and yeah, he's helping me get my bags off anyone can be there, whoever's picking up and dropping off. I don't know if it is the same now because I haven't been back in so many years, but that was eye-opening to me. And yeah, he helped me grab my bags, and we headed outside to the truck, and I made the famous mistake. I walked to the driver's side of your guys' damn trucks, and Dave, remembering what I did to him way back then when he arrived, he did the same thing to me. And I said, hey, bud, no problem. You have the keys, you can drive. Dave did the same thing to me. And I just stood there and I shook my head. I said, I will never, ever, ever give an American client grief again about walking to the wrong side of the truck and wanting to get in on the driver's side ever again, because the same thing happened to me. So that was a good chuckle. We had a chuckle there. And then we hopped in the truck. Everything's on the wrong side. I'm sitting on the wrong side. And we get to our first roundabout. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm hanging on to the thing going, man, we're going the wrong way around. Not used to this. So it was a big eye-opening experience for a young South African guy heading over to the States. Just the little things that I can remember as we chat about this. But I got there. We met Mike. The next morning, Mike took me around with his family. He was still working at the time. He was a state trooper. He's retired now. And he took me about. And yes, I'll never forget going to the Bass Pro in Springfield, Missouri. What a eye-opener, guys. South African guys had no idea. I had no idea what a proper hunting and outdoor store looked like. That was unbelievable. I could have spent hours there. So Mike took us for some lunch, and I was trying to get used to the whole idea of eating out in America as well, because things are different. So when we go to South Africa, you eat here in South Africa, you go to a restaurant, you order a steak. When you order a steak, you get your options are what you want, fries, or you want salads or vegetables or whatever. You can pick from the three sides, and that will be on your plate when it comes. With you guys, I couldn't get this thing around my head where I ordered the steak and then I still had to go and order the sides. It wasn't part of it. So that to me was a learning experience in itself. So it's all these little things. And then ordering a cup of coffee. Here in South Africa, you pay per cup of coffee, or you order a cool drink, and it was you pay per cool drink that you ordered. I couldn't believe the fact that I ordered my cup of coffee and it was bottomless. As soon as I finished my cup, the lady would come around and top up my coffee. And I'm like, I couldn't, the first couple of times I would say no thank you, because I thought I was paying again for another cup. Meanwhile, it was bottomless. So all these little new experiences that I was getting when I was over in the States. So now we're getting all ready and all geared up. And before I went over to the States, let's just rewind a little bit. with the advertising on Facebook. I'll actually throw up one of my old days Facebook ads for Tulsa Show, what I used to advertise, for you guys to get a picture of what we were kind of limited to. So Facebook would limit the amount of wording you were allowed to put on an advert. Now it doesn't. Before, it was limited. You'd put the thing up, you'd advertise it, then all of a sudden they bounce it back and say they can't put it up because you've used too many characters in your post, and you'd have to chop and change it. So those were the struggles of the social media side of also advertising on Facebook. So Mark and I were getting ready. I'm trying to think where we went to first. Man, I'm hitting a blank here. I got a funny feeling we did Sedalia first. So it was one morning, bright and early, we packed up and we went to Sedalia, and we had just a normal steel school table, and Mark brought his trophies with that he'd hunted with me out way back when, and him and his brother had made these stands where they had European mounts that you could actually stand the skulls on. So he went out of his way and did that for us and got that all set up. Prior to that, I had posted all the brochures, all the caps, all our literature and everything. We even did truck magnets for the side of his truck to try kind of like he could drive around with him on his truck so he could start drumming up some interest just in his hometown and around where he went. And those were the things that you needed to, and they were the basics. So we ended up at Sedalia. We made a lot of contacts. Now you must remember, I'm a young oak trying to set this all up. Thank goodness for Mark being a client that had come out to experience South Africa with another company. He could draw from that to help me and guide me along the way in setting up the correct things. So, okay, Wayne, when we book a client, what's your contract? And I'm like, oh, dude, I haven't done a contract. So that's how young I was and how green I was. And having Mark there, he went to an attorney, he got a contract drawn up for us, and it was all cut and paste. This is all done legally, to have it all done. And you must remember, like, this is all snowballed on me. I've just had a breakup, and I've, now moved and I've gone to the States. And it was awesome having somebody who guided me where I needed it. And I will forever be grateful for Mark taking the reins regarding those things, because I would have got to the show, had no contracts for the clients to sign, nothing to basically take everyone's details down, email addresses to correspond with them. I literally rocked up there with a bag. Also, all my price listing and everything with our breakup, I only had 2 flash drives in my hand with all my Wayndell Safari stuff regarding price lists, costings, everything. So I could fly with call it a quote on the spot, because I needed all of this. Again, I had no laptop. So the first thing I had to do when I got to the States was buy myself a laptop. So yeah, and then teach myself how to use this damn thing and get everything running. So our setup was really basic. You'll see we had a laptop set up on the table with a slideshow running, which was really cool. We had the skulls, we had a couple of his flat skins, and we had the brochures on the table. And if you booked a hunt with us, you left with your free hat if you put a deposit down. And then we made limited number of Wayndell Safari keychains, little things that you could hand out that people had, which is, it was my version of a business card. Business cards get tossed. I went and did keychains with the details, with the dress and everything on the back, because that somebody will use. They wouldn't toss it. So it's another little tip for you guys with promoting and stuff like that. Think of something that you can hand out, which doesn't cost a lot of money, which doesn't get thrown away, that it actually becomes a usable item, an everyday item. So we did Sedalia, got no, really hard hooks on that. And with this, Mark took me around to meet friends, and that was really, really, really cool. got to meet them, chatted them, gave them, Mike could talk to his experience of going to South Africa. I could talk about my experience being a South African living there and what we're all about. That was the really nice part, and people got to know you face value. Face value is so important, guys. You got to get to know a person's face value and find out what his character is all about. So we eventually did the big Tulsa show, and that was a huge eye-opening experience for me, because nowhere in South Africa do you come close to one of those outdoor, firearm conventions is what they've got there. It was table upon table of guys selling weapons, selling ammunition, trading, swapping. Guys were swapping amongst each other for different things. And I had my little booth on the side there. We had Mark's full family. His dad was there in support. Dave was there in support, and Mark. And I think Dave's son was there as well. And we went around handing out brochures, chatting to people coming to the table. We were trying to, build up as much as we can. Like that, took as much information as we got. But guys, sadly, at the end of this whole thing, we got no hits. So this was the second event that we gone to, and we actually had no hits. So after that show, the one thing I can tell you about the show for me being eye-opening is guys were walking in off the streets with a rifle and a gunsling into the show. They were obviously locking it all up so it can't be used, and the guy would have a little flag in the top of his barrel while he's walking around the show, and it'll be the caliber that he's got. He either wants to sell or trade or whatever. And I actually bought myself, I've always wanted a 458 Win Mag, and a young guy walked in and he was carrying around a CZ 458 Win Mag Safari Deluxe that he was wanting to get rid of for a steal at the time. And obviously with it being closed up, you couldn't open the bolt or anything like that. Guys, this is what it is. You buy things, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I bought the rifle. It was mint. Obviously we couldn't see the chamber and everything. But the funny thing is the guy brought us a handful of reloaded ammo and stuff like that. And it was 460 Weatherby. But the rifle was 458 Win Mag. So he could only give us the ammo after we'd purchased the rifle, because he couldn't walk around with both. So anyway, I thought, well, the Oak's just given us the wrong ammo. So I threw it in the box there. We had a show. I went and bought boxes of 458 Win Mag stuff to shoot, because I'm going to shoot this thing while I'm here to get used to it. Then I'm going to start contacting home to get my import permits to send it home. And we were going to get it all done and dusted before I left. And we take it out to shoot the first day, and it freaking splits the case in half. And we're like, the hell? Put another round in, splits the case in half. Couldn't understand what was going on. And eventually Stan did a chamber cast. And it specced out that this guy had rechambered his 458 Win Mag to a 460 Weatherby. And we took it to a gunsmith, and he checked it over, and it was all good. But guys, if any of you have shot a 460 Weatherby, you know it ain't a fun thing to hunt with or shoot with. And as a dangerous game weapon, I know where my limitations are when it comes to shooting. I know I'm comfortable to shoot with a 458 Win Mag. Anything that starts going over that, I start flinching. So I'd rather be accurate with a slightly smaller gun than have the biggest gun in the world and I can't hit the broadside of a barn door at 10 yards. And especially when it's got horns and coming at you at 60 k's an hour and he's pissed off, you want to be accurate. So in the end, I left the rifle there, and it got resold to somebody. The gunsmith had restamped it correctly, that it was never going to be mistaken as a 458 Win Mag. So that's my little story on my rifles. But the one cool thing was, when we were in the States, Stan and Mike had organized groups where you could go and meet, and like a meet and greet. And I think that is key to any marketing strategy. If you're ever going to go overseas, the guy who you're obviously going to go over is either an old client, a friend, or whatever. You're never going to just rock up there on your own. That just, in the industry, it doesn't work like that. And get them to get their friends together, like-minded people who are interested in the industry, interested in hunting in South Africa, interested in dipping their toe in the water, but they aren't quite 100% sure how to go about it. That is key. So you come as a group of people, you meet at a place for dinner, and then you actually kind of, how can I say, help them or guide them, or let's try and put a hunt together so when Mark comes out, he can hold your hand and come over. That is key to try and get the guys to book. So we got a lot more positives out of that than the shows. And out of these visits is where I actually booked my first client and my second client. But I'll tell you about the second client. So Mark, being one of the, I'm going to be charming about Mark throughout this episode, guys. He just really helped this business out and got me to be a outfitter. It's easy registering as an outfitter, but it ain't easy becoming an outfitter where you actually start guarding your own international clients. So Mark got hold of the guys from Wild Idea Outdoors. It was a radio station called Jock. I'm going to mess it up. Jock 98. It was from at Springfield, Missouri. And he got all of the guys there by the name of Darren Wilkins and Jeff Ford. And he got us onto the radio. And this was one of my highlights ever, where I was invited to come and be on the show and talk to their community about, and this is all pre-podcast, guys. This stuff gets done now regularly. It gets done all the time now. And this is predating podcast things. I'm actually giving away my age a bit, and I'm not that old. So I got on the show, and anyone could tune in. I even had my brother and other family members go onto the live link and watch it because they had a camera in the recording studio, and we took live calls, and I could really introduce the small part of America to who I am. And that was key. And I had such a great time chatting to Darren and Jeff that they both wanted to come out on an adventure with me. So we put a hunt together for them. Unfortunately, Jeff couldn't come out, so Darren came out with his son. And that'll be in the up and coming episodes. If you are enjoying Stalking Shadows, you better start watching them from the first one to the last one, guys, because it's a great story of where I started and where I've come to. So that is absolute key, where you've got a guy in your corner helping you and guiding you along the way. So this was my experience of being in America, seeing all the great things that America had to offer, going to 2 shows. I wouldn't say they were a flop, but they never gave me the clients that I was hoping for. I had outlaid quite a bit of money on just getting there and all the stuff. Super stoked with Mark, who helped me out with everything regarding the paperwork and the legality of things, and organizing that show, and his dad organizing the meet and greets where we have organized, got a client out of that. So that is super key, to have someone strong in your corner helping you get ahead with the industry. So guys, let's leave it there. I don't want to give away too much for the next episode. So that's how we started marketing. And if you like these things, hit that like and subscribe button. Please support the channel. It really goes a long way for us here in SA, and it keeps the lights on, and it keeps me doing this and sharing my passion with you guys out there, you like-minded hunters. So till next time, guys, cheers.